Awesome. I think we are live. Hello, everyone. If you can hear me, drop a message into the chat somewhere on the screen there, and we will soon kick off and jump straight into this webinar. So just drop a message into the chat if you can hear my voice okay. Just need to do all the technical checks to begin before we start. So keep those messages coming in. Hey, Neil, Laurie, Roger, JP. We've got a lot of people joining this webinar today, so very excited that you're all here and we can obviously go through some of the stuff around making tax digital for landlords, all the complexities that you may have heard on various different websites and platforms and articles and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to debunk some of that stuff, make sure that you're across all of the right information, and really excited to do this too. So I've also got Ben in the chat as well. Ben's one of our staff at Landlord Studio, my colleague. He'll be in the chat answering questions as we go through the webinar today. So if you do have any questions, please be sure just to drop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those as we go through. So we'll just give it a couple more seconds here before I kick into gear. So I just want to sort of do a quick introduction on myself as well. So my name's Logan Ransley, one of the co-founders here at Landlord Studio. Really appreciate you joining in today. It's great to see everyone sort of joining in. I think it's going to be a really valuable session as well, especially for you, for those who are managing sort of larger, more complex property portfolios. And if you've joined one of our previous webinars, welcome back. Today we're going to go a little bit deeper into the Making Tax Digital compliance changes. And in particular, we're going to be focusing on the challenges that portfolio landlords face with these new MTD rules. And also, if you manage multiple properties, have joint ownership, deal with foreign income, or if you've got several sort of income streams like sole trader income on top of that rental income as well, then basically the session is for you. So I'm really excited to sort of go through all of that today. Again, just jump into the chat. Let us know any questions that you might have. Where's everyone joining from, by the way? Drop in where you're joining in or where you're tuning in from today. We're based in Clapham Junction, London. Phil from Leeds, David from Torquay, Tim from Stopford. Hey, Tim, nice to see you. Will, Nikolai, Helen, and Milton Keynes. Awesome. Bournemouth from all over the place. Great. So we've got keep it coming in that chat. Nice. A few from Oxford. Great to see you all in here. South London. Nice. Cool. Well, let me jump in and sort of give a little bit of an introduction about what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to start by looking at sort of who's impacted by making tax digital and why portfolio landlords need just a slightly different approach compared to those with simpler, smaller portfolios. We're also going to explore, multi-property bookkeeping and the key differences between sort of property-specific software and general accounting tools like QuickBooks, Xero Sage, and how we handle these complex income streams and ownership splits, particularly in Landlord Studio. And we're also going to walk through what the filing process looks like for MTD and how to sort of generate useful insights, understand those quarterly updates and final submission requirements too. And of course, I'll show you through all of this inside Landlord Studio and how that helps you manage all of this a little bit more easy. But I've got a question for everyone. So really want to just get a sense here on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5, being fully prepped. Who here feels ready for the MTD changes? Drop your answer in the chat. Very keen to see who is feeling ready for making tax digital who has their systems in place, their workflows, etc. Wow, there's a lot of ones and twos. Hopefully we can relieve that today and actually give you a little bit of a better sense of how to handle this. But yeah, just drop those into the chat. We've got twos, we've got threes. David 3, Suzanne 1, Danielle 3, Tony 2. Just a concern with the data breach. Yeah, understand that as well. Definitely understand that. Drop those numbers in, keep them coming through. Hopefully, again, we can help with this this concern, because it's definitely a mixed bag of people, and we understand that there's a lot of confusing information online, and a lot of sort of just various different sources that people are looking at, and hopefully we can relieve this. But going to jump in and now ask another question, and that is a quick show of hands, as it were. Do you currently have any joint ownership arrangements or partnerships? Just drop a simple yes or no in the chat. I think this is really one of the complex components of making tax digital, and also just how we handle this in software. Typically, a lot of these accounting softwares don't really handle these arrangements very well. We've built a really nice seamless solution that's gonna help with this a lot. So really excited to show you that. But I can see a sort of mix of responses coming in here, yes and no's. It's clear a lot of you are already managing sort of multiple properties, which is where sort of MTD starts to add some real complexity. Hopefully by the end of today's session, I want to make sure that everyone just feels a little bit more confident and prepared for what's coming. So let's jump into it. So I just want to start at the beginning again. Quick recap. What is MTD, Making Tax Digital? Why is it such a big deal for landlords? And does it impact you? So Making Tax Digital, or MTD, is that UK government initiative that's coming in April. It's going to require all landlords earning over £50,000 in revenue to keep digital records and submit quarterly updates using HMRC recognized software. And this all kicks off April next year and is phased, has a phased rollout over the coming years, depending on your revenue threshold. That threshold will drop to £30,000 by 2027, and then there's talk that it could go as low as £20,000 in 2028. But it depends on what that income is. So qualifying income includes things like sole trader income, rental income, furnished holiday lets, student lets. It does not include things like dividends or pensions. We'll explore a little bit more of that in detail later. The threshold and whether you're over it is calculated based on your gross income from 2025 to 2026 tax year, not your net income after expenses. Meaning if you earn over £50,000 in just rental income in that tax year, then you're going to have to come under these new regulation rules. MTD's actually been in the pipeline for about 10 years. It's been delayed several times. And, experts are estimating that this will have cost the government about £1.3 billion by 2027. But the government has cited a number of reasons for this change, core one being closing the notorious tax gap, that £46 billion that they're estimating. But whatever the reason, and whether you like it or not, MTD is coming. And if you are earning over the threshold and qualifying income in that tax year, then you do need to be compliant. So why does it seem straightforward for some and complicated for others? Get this question a lot from a lot of our customers. If you are managing a single property, or one or two residential properties, they're sort of all in the same class, MTD is relatively straightforward. You track your income and expenses for that property, you submit your quarterly updates, and then you do your end of year tax return as per usual. The software that you choose should make that pretty easy. But things start to get a little bit more complicated when you're managing multiple properties, especially ones with multiple ownership structures, or when you have sort of mixed income types. For example, if one property is owned jointly with your partner and another one is, solely in your name, you actually need to calculate and report the exact income and expenses per your overall ownership across the two different properties. How do you do that? Well, that's sort of where it gets interesting. HMRC doesn't need property by property breakdowns when you file, but you do. So you need to know which capital allowances to claim. And of course, capital allowances are property specific. Disposal tracking requires sort of property level records. And as I've sort of already mentioned, if you've got multiple properties in your portfolio, and you own some of them jointly, then you need to know the exact percentages to help you then calculate your overall income and expenses. And then you need detailed property level records to track sort of performance, capital allowances, etc. as well. So even if you've got uneven ownership splits, say 70-30, 80-20, things become even more of a headache, and tracking and calculating your share of the reportable income manually every quarter in a spreadsheet, it's just going to be too hard. And with MTD requiring everything to be digital and accurate, errors are going to be a big headache for a lot of people. So what we're trying to say is that if you don't have clear digital records at a property level, then it's very easy for these errors to creep in. And under the MTD rules, those errors will be much easier for HMRC to spot and could end up costing, you a fair bit down the line. Add to this that paper and spreadsheets with the increased workload around your quarterly updates. Some of these methods are just not going to be viable anymore. And additionally, of course, if spreadsheets and paper are not MTD compliant by themselves, you do need to store digital records in an HMRC recognized system that connects directly to the MTD platform. Good news is that the right system should not only save you time, it'll reduce errors, streamline your reporting, make quarterly submissions just a little bit easier. Obviously, we're quite biased. We think Landlord Studio is the best, and we're willing to die on that hill. It will allow you to automate, reduce errors, streamline a lot of this reporting, and ultimately get a better, more accurate sort of, will help you get a better, more accurate handle on those finances. So that when you are doing those quarterly updates, and they do come, it's just a couple of clicks, as long as you've been sort of on top of the bookkeeping side of things as well. But we do recognize that you've got to make the right decision for your business, and you absolutely should test out a few different solutions. But we are confident you'll come back. The other option would be to use, general accounting solutions like QBO, Xero, Sage. And that will work if you have one or two properties, maybe, but they're not really designed for property portfolios. And that is just, even just tracking a couple of units more than just, the one property, it gets quite complex there. So general accounting tools, they do work fine for small businesses, sole traders, accounting experts, but even for those smaller, simpler portfolios, once you start adding multiple properties and joint ownership structures, unless you know what you're doing, it becomes really easy to mess all of that up. And the different property expenses then get mixed up. Income tracking becomes a headache, and then it becomes almost impossible to see which properties are performing and which ones need attention. And then also the compliance side can actually slip through the cracks too. And those mistakes under this new digital system will compound over time. They'll get caught. Now, if you've got a good accountant, they'll hopefully catch a lot of these mistakes because they use these tools on a day-to-day. But it will cost you more money to do this, and it will require a lot more of their time. And accountants' times are limited as well. So that's where we suggest bringing in property-specific software like Landlord Studio. It's built for you as a landlord. It lets you track income and expenses on a property-by-property level, and that's sort of key here. You can set ownership percentages, automate a lot of the reporting, and make that filing just a little bit easier. So all might sound pretty overwhelming. So what happens if you do get it wrong, and what would happen if you didn't register for MTD? Well, first of all, HMRC has introduced a new points-based penalty system. So each missed quarterly update earns you 1 penalty point. And once you hit 4 points, you'll get a £200 fine. And if you keep missing deadlines intentionally or not, those fines will stack up. Good news is HMRC have said that, and this was a couple of months ago, but when we were at Countex, but they did say for that first year, they're unlikely to enforce the new penalty system straight away, as they have to work through a lot of the kinks, as you can imagine. But it's still important to get ahead of this now because, repeated mistakes or late submissions will cost you a lot in the long run. And no one really wants HMRC breathing down the neck. If you simply fail to register for MTD, perhaps you weren't sure if it, you come under the new rules. They have said that they intend to automatically enroll you based on your self-assessment tax return in the part. I want to take a quick look at the ownership structure now and how this might look as well. So let's give a few examples. So let's say that you own 2 properties jointly with your spouse, generating £60,000 in total income. With a 50-50 split, that's £30,000 each. So neither of you would need to register for MTD in 2026, but you'll need to register for it once the threshold drops to 30,000 in 2027. So it's best to sort of stay on top of that and, make sure that you do understand when you are going to be qualified for this. Here's a look at a little bit more of a complicated situation here. So let's say you own 3 properties, one solely, one jointly with an 80-20 percentage split, and even one with a joint ownership split. The solely owned one brings in 25,000. The first jointly owned one earns 25,000 total, meaning 12,500 that you are responsible for. Second jointly owned one earns 20,000. This starts to get a little bit complicated. Add this all up, and your total qualifying income now brings you over that threshold for MTD. So this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated, and this is where you sort of need to stay on top of this stuff. Let's have a look at another example. So this one is even more complex. You're a sole trader earning 30,000. You have 2 rental properties. One is solely yours. It generates 20,000. One is jointly owned. This generates 10,000 for you. Your total qualifying income from rentals would be 30,000. However, because you have the sole trade income, your actual qualifying income, now brings you up to 60. So you would then need to register for MTD. So these exact ownership splits need to be reported via your software each quarter, so you can actually see quickly, calculate quickly if you are actually coming into these bands. And this is where the traditional accounting software starts to break down. So let's jump into, I guess, what actually qualifies or what types of income actually qualify as qualifying income. So before I sort of jump into Landlord Studio and show you through that, just want to go through these real quick. First, we sort of have, UK property income. This includes residential, student, furnished flats. You're going to report your income for these combined as one property business. Foreign property income also counts towards MTD as well. So if you do have properties overseas and you're a tax resident here, that's another stream of income that's going to come in too. Self-employment income also counts as qualifying income under MTD. You can't use Landlord Studio currently to handle the self-employment income side. We're designed specifically for property income, but HMRC has made it clear that you can actually use multiple systems to do this. If you run a sole trade business, you'll typically want a product that's going to be able to issue invoices and do all these sorts of other things that, just don't really fall under a property type software. You can use these multiple softwares, including ours, to then report for MTD. So if you wanted to use Landlord Studio for property, Xero for the sole trade side, you can do that. And the MTD system will connect all these up and store or accept digital submissions together. VAT income. So there's obviously making tax digital for VAT as well. It's already in effect. If you are VAT registered and your turnover exceeds 85,000, you should already be compliant here. But it's important to note that VAT income is treated completely separately from your property and self-employment income. The figures don't combine here. So that sort of gives you a little bit of an overview of what's accepted. So here's some of the ones that aren't. Income from employment, PAYE salary, and any associated benefits here. Income from dividends, other investment returns, interest, etc. Cap gains tax, or capital gains, sorry. Income from business partnerships. These are not included. Qualifying care relief receipts, etc. So that's some of the ones that aren't included in the qualifying income. So what this essentially means is that, if you have sole trader income, VAT income, and property income, you could actually be filing up to 3 updates every quarter for all these different components here, meaning, up to 12 updates a year. I know some accountants I've spoken to have reported this. It's going to be quite a challenge for them to do all of this. Plus your final submission as well. And this is why having the right system in place is really important. One that can help you sort of streamline your new tax update compliance and sort of automatically handle all the things, plus those ownership splits in one place, and help you sort of generate and understand your share of the income and expenses. So that's why we're going to show you a bit of a demo of Landlord Studio. I will jump into our product and give you a bit of an overview of how this looks and how it's handled from an ownership point of view. So let me just switch over now. So now I'm in Landlord Studio. Basically, you can sign up on our website, or if your accountant uses us, they're a part of our partner program. You can actually access some great wholesale rates as well. But basically, once you log in, very simply, the first task is to add your properties. So add them all in. Basically, just come into the add property menu here, enter the address in, break it down by whether it's a single family home or if it's a multi-unit HMO. And then basically once you've added that property into the system, then you can actually come into the property details page. Now, at the bottom here, again, this is all tracking the income and expenses on a property by property level. And this is sort of where it's key in comparison to a lot of the other accounting software on the market. First thing you need to do, set up your ownership splits. So once this property is added, you can then add your ownership splits here. Now, in this example, I've added John and Sarah, their 40-60 ownership split. Basically, once I've added this ownership split into the system, then this means that Landlord Studio is going to calculate the income and expenses for MTD for each owner based on their ownership percentage split that you've applied on this page here. It means that you can track income and expenses as normal, as sort of normally, and it means that you don't have to sort of break down the transactions into their percentage splits and then try to work that out at a later point. You just use the software, track your income and expenses as normal, plus use a lot of the other features as well that are available in here. You can obviously add all your sorts of different certificates and various compliance type features that help sort of store everything in one place, mileage, etc., etc. But the key thing here is to add that ownership split so that MTD then becomes a lot easier to do once you go and authorize your account for MTD. So what I can do now is actually, first of all, there's one feature that we can actually show from a reporting perspective. So now that I've sort of added my income and expenses in, I can actually generate reports. And this is aside from MTD. This is just for your own understanding. I can actually generate reports based on an owner's level, which is basically going to allow me to then break down a full P&L by category, and then basically allow you to see those ownership splits automatically calculated based on what you've added in the system. So that's just for your own benefit. If you need to provide this data to accountants, the accountant can come in here, export it out, CSV, PDF file, or you can provide that to them as well. So that's just a cool feature as a part of the MTD component. Now when we start to actually authorize for MTD, we can then jump across to our integrations menu. And authorizing for MTD is very simple. Basically log in using your national insurance number. Again, you have to register for this on their website. We then link that national insurance number to an owner that we've set up in the system. So in this case, I've got a number of different owners that I've set up in Landlord Studio, and I've just authorized my national insurance number. I just pick my owner in here, link that property. I can then see all the properties that that owner is a part of already, and then I can just save that. And then also there's a mapping sort of process that you can get into as well, which your accountant will help out with. But basically now we can then jump into seeing our quarterly submissions ready to be submitted directly from Landlord Studio. So if I jump into that first quarter, I can actually see a full breakdown rental statement of all the income that I've recorded in the system during these dates, broken down by income and expenses. I can actually dive into them a little bit further if I want to and actually review them directly from that statement. But the key thing here is actually this is one national insurance or one client account here. So this is for Nina. And you can see here on the right-hand side, the percentage splits across the different properties. You can actually add and adjust them if you need to. But basically, when you set this up, this income and expense statement is going to calculate based on that percentage here. So you can see that the values have just changed after updating that percentage split on the right-hand side. So this keeps a running tally of essentially my income and expenses based on what I own of each property, all aggregated up. I can also connect multiple users to this as well. So if you actually want to do filing for multiple clients from here or multiple property owners, you can actually connect yourself and then your husband or wife as that second one. So I can actually switch across to their one and actually do the same filing directly from here as well. And that's basically going to show them their reported income and expenses broken down by split as well. So that really just gives you a quick overview. Sorry that my screen keeps minimizing. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Again, we'll send out a replay at the end here. But to basically submit, it's very simple. Come into the statement, review the information, and then you can submit directly to HMRC from here. Or if your accountant's involved, you can have them do this on your behalf too. So that's a little bit about the Making Tax Digital filing, how it works for joint ownership, how it's calculated based on an ownership level, the key thing here is to make sure that when you're using Landlord Studio, you need to set up that ownership split when you first set up the accounts. And that it can be easily done from here as well, or in the mobile device if you're using our mobile app. So that's a little bit about MTD, a little bit about how it works. There's some other features which I haven't gone into today, which I definitely suggest trying out. One of them is bank feeds. Bank feeds is going to help you do a lot of this automatically and allocate a lot of these transactions through rules and automation to make your life just a little bit easier. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of how it all works. Going to swap back my screen now to the presenter window over here. Let me know if once you can see that. Cool. So that's basically Landlord Studio in a nutshell. We do have other demos on our website as well for all the various other features that you can sort of see in Landlord Studio, or you can sign up for a free trial as well and actually test it out yourself. So now that you've sort of seen how the system works, we're just going to recap really quickly what that quarterly update is going to look like, what to expect, and what your timeline is. And then we're going to open it up for some questions. I know there's a ton of questions that have been coming through here. Ben has done his best to answer them as we've gone through. We'll bring some of those up on the screen to make sure that we do answer them as well. I know Tim has also jumped in there as well. So Tim is an accountant that we work with very closely. He's one of the partners on our partner program. So just to recap, each quarterly update is going to include all your total income and allowable expenses for that quarter. What you don't submit is detailed transaction lists or bank statements, physical receipts. It needs to come from a product like Landlord Studio. You don't need to submit property addresses, tenant names, capital gains, any of that sort of information. The only thing that you're submitting is the income and expense aggregated values for a quarter based on your percentage of ownership. Note, of course, that these are standard quarters and your actual quarter might differ if you're using non-standard tax year. Just need to be aware of that. Just need to ask your accountant around those complexities. Again, for joint owners, you will need to submit the actual percentages that you own in these updates. Well, we do that in our system. And this is really important because once you've set it up, you need to actually work out if you're going to be falling into that qualifying income threshold based on what you own percentage-wise. And then after your fourth quarterly update, you'll be able to complete a final submission, which is your full annual tax return, which typically an accountant would do by January 31st. And this keeps the same deadline as the existing self-assessment deadline, and it's on that final submission that you'll apply all the relief allowances, etc., in that adjustment. Cool. We've covered a lot. Hopefully this has helped alleviate some of those questions that you've had. We're going to open up the floor now for Q&A. I'm going to do my best to go through some of these questions and make sure that we are covering them off. So let me just bring a few of them up now and see if we can bring them up on the screen. Let me have a look through. Again, drop them into the chat as we go through. This is a great one here. So can the ownership split be changed at any point and still produce the correct results? So yep, we can do that. As I sort of showed you through the demo piece, you can actually adjust those while you're in the submission page and actually make sure that they are correct. Do I have to pay tax quarterly? Would definitely ask your accountant. From my understanding, it doesn't change the way that you actually then pay tax. This is purely just a reporting to HMRC so that they have better visibility over. There you go, Tim Taylor. Tax is not due quarterly. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. again, some of these tax questions would definitely recommend reaching out to an accountant to discuss them. They will be able to give you a little bit more information. Why is MTD being introduced? Why quarterly, not yearly submission? That is the number one question that everyone is asking. What does HMRC gain from this? The way that they've told us is that there's a big tax gap, and by doing this, they're going to reduce that, essentially. That's basically their underlying reasons. I have a few sort of my personal views on this. I believe that they want better visibility of cash flow throughout the year, so that might help them forecast tax revenue a little bit easier. But yeah, there's a lot of information online. Would definitely suggest following some of the HMRC spokespeople as they start to release a lot more information around this as well. Let's have a look at this one. Can we upload scan receipts to your software? Yes, you can. You can use our mobile app to do that. You can scan receipts and then attach them to transactions directly from in the app as well. Here we go. Can you do bank feeds for 2 bank accounts? Yes, you can. You can actually add multiple bank accounts to our system, and that allows you to sort of cater for various different bank accounts as well. Ben's actually answered a few of these as well. Yeah, so there's actually a question here about companies. So that's actually a really important question to answer. MTD is not applicable to registered companies that have property. So if you have limited companies that own the properties, they don't need to report under this MTD scheme. This is for income tax, self-assessment. This is personally owned properties and sole trade income too. There's a lot of questions. What is the monthly annual cost for Landlord Studio? Jump on our website, landlordstudio.com/UK. You'll see a pricing page in there. We have 3 different plans. We actually have a free plan that starts you off with 3 units, gives you most of the features. A few advanced features like bank feeds is not included in that. And then once you get into the Pro plan, it starts at £12 a month. But if your accountant is a part of our partner program, there is actually a wholesale or cheaper options that are available for you as well. Please remind us what happens to paper copies of the receipt. So we always just recommend that you scan those receipts and then upload them into the software and attach them against the transaction. And that helps you keep it on file. If you ever need to bring it up and provide proof during a tax audit, then it's all there available. This is a good one. If I submit MTD for all 4 quarters on on Landlord Studio, and then when you go to do the self-assessment tax return on the government website, will all the figures for the property be there? So yes, that's what they've told us, and that's how it works. Basically, you could have multiple systems pushing in data into HMRC's system, and that's where it's all stored. And all those systems can read that data as well. So if you push in income and expense data from Landlord Studio, when you then go to do self-assessment tax return, all the information from our software that has been pushed in there will be available for you to make that end of year tax return just seamless. I own properties jointly with my wife. If I make the ownership split 95.5%, what does this involve? So again, just use our ownership percentage split feature in Landlord Studio, apply 5%, 95%, and then our system does the rest to calculate everything in between. So if you're an existing customer, the MTD integration is not actually available for you to use yet because it comes in for next tax year. So you will see it in the coming months, and it will be then available for you to jump in and use from April next year. We don't currently support the current tax year. Let's have a look. This one's an interesting one. I've seen this across a couple of different webinars and a few different sort of responses from HMRC on this as well. You currently get a proof of submission or some sort of acknowledgement statement when you do your end of year tax through the gateway. And so, from our understanding, you'll still receive this as well, or some sort of acknowledgement directly from HMRC to say that you've done this. Cool. I'm going to take a couple more questions before I wrap it up today. Again, if you have any specific questions about the software, feel free to reach out to our support. We'll be happy to sort of go through any of that stuff and actually, help you get set up correctly. And then again, we do really recommend reaching out to an accountant just to make sure that all your T's and C's are crossed. Make sure that you've got everything sort of in line, ready for next year. Cool. One more. What are the expense categories? Saw that from, let me find it again. Here we go. David, what are the expense categories? So basically in our system, we have what's called categories for income, categories for expenses. And these just help you basically categorize the transactions correctly. It's very similar to how accounting software works. They have what's called a chart of account. We have a category. The categories that are used in our system automatically match the self-assessment tax return form. And so if you don't set up custom categories and you keep the account stock standard, you don't actually have to do anything. Basically, all those categories in our system then map straight into HMRC for MTD. And then basically that allows you just to make sure that you're reporting income and expenses correctly per their categorization in their system or per the self-assessment tax return. Cool. That is all the questions for today. We've got to wrap up. Hopefully this has been helpful. One more question before we jump off. I just want to see if everyone's feeling a little bit more confident about this. Helps me understand if I've done my job right today and if we could make it better for next time. Drop a yes or a no in the chat if you are feeling more confident about making tax digital, about MTD. Drop it in there. That'll help me. There we go. We're seeing quite a few yeses. There we go. Yes, same. Cool. And if you have any recommendations or you're still not sure on anything, also drop that in the chat as well. We'll review this whole chat once we wrap up to make sure that we are, providing the best educational resources here. So again, if you're feeling more confident about MTD, drop that yes in there. If you're not, chuck a no in there. Maybe a reason if I haven't answered any questions. Appreciate that my screen has been sort of minimizing here. We will send out a replay video of the webinar shortly after today, possibly next week, early next week. You'll be able to watch that fully through and it won't have this weird minimizing of my screen. But again, if you want to learn a little bit more about MTD, head over to Landlord Studio. We have a lot of resources on there as well, which will just help you stay on top of this stuff. And if you haven't already, create a free account on Landlord Studio. We do have a 14-day free trial. Test it out for yourself. See if it's the right fit. The earlier you get set up, the smoother your first quarterly submission is going to be. So really appreciate you all joining today. And again, we'll see you in the next time.